And welcome to WTBU Sports, ladies and gentlemen. On the Friday after the Super Bowl, I am sitting here with Daniel Schmaltz, Ben Silver, Alexander Evans, and I'm Chad Jones hosting. Andreas will be showing up momentarily. He's still, I believe, pulling in right now. He'll be in a few minutes. You are listening to WTBU Sports, the beat of Boston University. Listen in at 89.3 FM or 640 AM, BU Channel 6, WTBUradio.org, or the WTBU Radio app. Call us at 617-353-6400. And please, you can send us a request at Spinatron. I don't know what that means, but maybe you can send us something to go over.
That's just some.
I think it's for music.
I don't think we've ever used Spinatron once. I've never heard anyone mention it outside of the intro.
Yes.
We have, you just don't know it.
Fair enough.
It is being used. I can confirm that.
That's got to be going intro and outro for music, I think, for us, because we don't play really requests for music. And then you can follow us WTBU Sports on the social medias. Guys, also, before we get to all the Super Bowl stuff, breaking news. We are making the executive decision to add a little name change to the program this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Are we?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
We will now be WTBU
Out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
Love
yes,
it.
yes. We
Yes.
decided to go over that last weekend. We were thinking about some new names because on Monday it's what do we got for
Monday's show is officially called the Game Managers here at
Game
WTBU
Managers.
Sports. The Friday show never got enough love.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it was
as the members of the Friday show regular crew, we all came to the decision, and this is the inaugural episode of Out of Bounds. So let's get right into it, guys.
Congratulations.
We're
to
making
us.
use of our lack of recognition.
Yes.
Absolutely, we are now demanding recognition, and we're gonna get it.
Demanding to be heard.
Yep.
Exactly. Let's hop right into it, guys. I know it's been a few days old, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Super Bowl 53 happened this past Sunday. 13-3 Patriots over the Rams. There were almost as many punts as points scored. But let's go around the table, guys. Thoughts on the Super Bowl?
You want to first go over what we all got wrong on the Friday show? Because we could not have been more wrong, I don't think. Ben, I got a question for you to start off. Did you think
Yep.
it was possible for the Patriots to win by the biggest Super Bowl margin in franchise history with Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. not throwing for a touchdown pass and throwing an interception? Did you think it was possible?
No, I didn't think they would win by the biggest margin in their Super Bowl history. I also didn't think we would see more this crap fest. It was. I want to use stronger language here, and I'm struggling to find a better word, but it was a bleep show.
At least it was entertaining. It was close and dramatic. It wasn't one of those blowouts.
No, it wasn't
but it
entertaining. Are you kidding?
That was entertaining. You didn't like...
Oh,
you know,
I was falling asleep.
tied in the fourth quarter with the greatest quarterback ever going for a drive to take the lead in the Super Bowl. You weren't at all entertained.
Oh, it was such a boring game. I mean, Goff was undeniably awful. Brady was
unbelievably bad.
undeniably mediocre.
Yeah, it's fair.
He was bad. Don't even try to toot his own horn. He threw for less than 200 yards.
Yeah,
no touchdowns,
I
and a
really
pick.
shouldn't even be saying
Brady
he was
threw for less than 200
mediocre.
yards.
Didn't?
No, it was like 230.
Here, one sec.
Okay,
Let me pull
never
this up.
mind.
Let me pull this
Never
up.
mind.
It was his worst Super Bowl before. We can get into the Brady legacy stuff a little bit later, guys, but that was by far his worst Super Bowl performance.
Without a doubt. And look, here's another thing. And this is just what makes this is just why I think this might go down as the worst Super Bowl ever. Because
Aside from it being the
One of the-
lowest
one of the-
scoring,
one of the-
No, Multi, you're right. And
it's-
Chad,
well, it's
I
just-
don't know what you're on if you don't think it is
Well,
one
it's
of the
just-
worst Super
okay,
Bowls
okay.
ever.
Let's
aside
chill.
from
it was
the low
close.
score,
It wasn't a
chill out.
blowout.
But it's
Yes.
because of this.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
because the betting lines for this game. The line for this game was 56.5 points. You were betting over or under on 56.5 points. 56.5, and there were 16 points scored. And what that just says to me is that the majority of the sports world came to the agreement that there were going to be over 50 points scored around the middle line, I guess, of points scored was over 50. People were expecting to see points scored in this game, and there just weren't. Now, that can be attributed to a multitude of things. It could be attributed to both QBs having bad games, or it could just be attributed to the fact that both defenses had really good games. But the moral of the story is that this was supposed to be damn near a slugfest between these two teams, and it ended up being, punt after punt after punt, no touchdowns through 3 quarters. I think they said that this was the first Super Bowl in history where both teams went through the first 3 quarters without scoring a touchdown. I mean, yes, it was a close game, but but not an exciting kind of close. Not like back and forth points. It was back and forth. Blech.
Would you rather take that or have the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl from a few years ago when it was over after the first quarter?
Broncos Seahawks in a heartbeat because at least one team was playing well. In this game, we saw two teams play poorly.
Two offenses play bad. The defense are playing out of their minds.
You cannot say that the offenses played poorly and the defenses played well because the offenses played because the offenses. I wouldn't say it was the defenses playing well. I would say it
wasn't.
No, it was Goff having a terrible game. You watch that game. You watch that game, and you see all the missed passes.
This is going to turn into a debate tournament.
Yeah, already we're going.
This is going to turn into a debate tournament.
The missed passes by both Goff and Brady were truly just incredible.
Okay, so quick question.
Neither of them could hit their man.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ben. Quick question. So
don't be sorry. That's a ridiculous take. Interrupt him all day with
that. It's not a good defensive game for the New England Patriots when they hold the LA Rams, one of the top 5 offenses in the league, to 3 points.
Okay, it's a good defensive game, but a lot of that is on the Rams as well. I mean, I think you get any other team out there versus the Patriots defense, yes, you'll see a 15, 16-point game. But you're not going to see a 3-point game versus almost any other team that made the playoffs. This wasn't a good job, but I shouldn't say that. It was a good job by the Patriots defense, and it was a good job by the Rams defense. It wasn't a game where the defense deserved to hold the Rams defense to 3 points. They did a good job. It was Goff having the game of his life just in the wrong direction.
See, but you can't put all the blame on Jared Goff. I mean, a huge part of the Rams' offensive game was their running game, and the Patriots' defensive line just shut down the Rams' running game.
Yeah, they stuffed him.
And when you combine the fact that Jared Goff played like crap for just about the entirety of the game, that's bad enough. But when you add on to the fact that Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson, their hugely important dynamic duo of running backs, could not do bleep.
Yeah, they were held to a combination of 57 yards.
That credit completely goes to the Patriots' defense and the defensive game they put on. Jared Goff was bad, but that's only part of the story. The Patriots' defense, keeping Anderson and Gurley, swallowing them whole in this whole game, was a huge factor in this game. And you have to give credit to the Rams' defense. The Rams' defense kept pressure on Brady. For almost the entirety of the first quarter of the game, Brady couldn't and wouldn't throw the ball for a reason, because the Rams' defensive line has players that you do not want trying to tackle you, because that's not going to go well when you have guys like Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh against the 41-year-old Tom Brady. If those guys get the right tackle, they could snap Tom Brady in half.
The Patriots defense, man, deserves credit for one huge reason. Goff was confused. He was like me on a math test. Had no idea what to do. He was completely fooled by the Patriots' zone defense. He had nowhere to go after the first option. He was looking at his first receiver. If his first receiver wasn't open, he was screwed, because he wasn't going to be able to scramble and find a second option or go through the reads and find one. They were getting pressure on him all day. Hightower ended up with 2 sacks. Van Noy ended up with a sack and a half. They were getting pressure in the offensive line for the Rams, who had really good offensive line too. Like, there's a reason why they were able to rush with Todd Gurley being one of the most valuable players in the NFL this season and Goff having an MVP season. The Patriots defense was completely an exact opposite of what they did last year in the Super Bowl, where Nick Foles shredded them for 41 points.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm not saying the Patriots defense played poorly. They played really well, but a lot of that, more than a lot, most of that was helped by Jared Goff being unable to even not just hit the bullseye, not hit the target. It was ineptitude from Jared Goff. And it's not like there's an excuse for that. And a lot of that, yes, was caused by the Patriots defense. And the running backs were only held to 57 yards, which
that's huge, though.
I'm saying I'm agreeing that the Patriots defense had a great game, and especially their defensive line had a phenomenal game. But I don't think that they should be It's wrong to say that they shouldn't be credited with only allowing 3 points for the Rams. But a lot of, like I'm trying to say, a lot of that is on Jared Goff.
Well, let's not forget the turtle that McVay had in that game. Because, my God, say what you want about Goff. Goff sucked. He sucked and blew. But
very good point.
Hot damn.
But McVay did not game plan that well at all. And he didn't adjust in game. Time after time, it was shots down the field, up the seam, and you've got a quarterback who, A, was inaccurate, B, who looked like he had his head up as you know what. throw a screen, throw a curl, throw something short that he can hit. He didn't do anything to get that offense jump started, and he let them just flounder.
By the way, quick before we move on with this, Andreas, welcome to the show.
Yeah, so
He just come in, spits fire. He doesn't need an intro.
Yes, I know.
My tardiness.
We apologize for not formally introducing him and welcoming him to the inaugural episode of Out of Bounds, but we are absolutely thrilled that you are now here.
I'm embarrassed that I showed up late for our first show. As like,
It's all right.
with the new name.
It is absolutely all good, and we love that the first thing that he says, throwing shade at the Rams, a lot of which is deserved. So absolutely.
Andres, you made a great point last week when we were talking about previewing the game of were the Patriots, who played mostly man this year, going to switch it up to zone. What did they do? They completely played zone. They knew Goff would suck at it, and the Rams didn't adjust to it. Sean McVay was stuck in his game plan. It was very similar to when the Chargers played the stupid zone against Brady, and he picked him apart in that game with those 12-yard outs to Edelman. If you go into the game against the Patriots and you do something well, and they know you do something well, you need to adjust, especially when it's going awful for your offense at halftime.
Can I say Sean McVay looked like a 33-year-old coach?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's just make something clear, because this is probably one of my favorite parts about the game, and I hope it's getting the recognition that it deserves. McVay saying after the game that he was out-coached by Bill Belichick, and that just says to every team and every fan who thinks that the McVays, the younger, more analytical coaches, are going to come into the NFL and steal the show. Guess what? The front man, the centerpiece of this movement of young head coaches, admitted on the biggest platform of professional football that he was beaten by a man literally double his age, who has a much more traditional style of thinking with regards to coaching and running plays. And guess what? The traditionalist, the old school guy, Bill Belichick, out-coached Sean McVay to the nth degree.
Well,
and it showed. I mean, name me one set of downs in that game where the Rams looked like they had something going. You just can't.
Multi, I know I came in late and I'm coming in hot here, but talking to the microphone, for God's sake.
Was I not talking into the microphone?
At the end of there...
You're trailing off a little bit.
You were like out here. You can hear the difference.
My bad.
You're all good.
Yeah, Schmaltz, be professional one time. All right, gosh, earn up to your contract.
I'm not in comm yet. I have no right. I don't have to be a pro
That's
yet.
true.
But McVay, listening to some of him mic'd up and
Oh,
post-game
God,
stuff.
we'll get to that.
My God, doesn't it sound like he has daddy issues?
I think he was this close to sucking Bill Belichick's toes. Like, he was ready to go down and just literally worship the ground he was walking on.
I mean, he didn't have his. He didn't have his get back coach. Maybe that's what he's for, to prevent him from getting too close to Belichick.
I think he would the piece of gum that Belichick was done with. He threw on the ground. I think McVay scrolled over there.
Can we please not make this the random tangent of the night?
No, that's true. Belichick was just. Also, there was a great thing about the mic'd up. I didn't see the whole thing, but I've seen the clips of it on social media, and the other shows are playing it, of Belichick walking down the sideline. Where's McVay? Where is he? Let me get some eye contact with him. Psychological warfare with Bill Belichick going to Sean McVay and just looking him in the eyes across the field.
Total nutjob weirdo, but I mean, somehow it works.
It works,
for him.
yeah. No,
Belichick
he does his job.
Multi, again, speak into the microphone, for God's sake.
He earns his
Belichick
contract.
Or McVay.
Belichick.
Yeah, it reminded me of when he looked at Pete Carroll before the Malcolm Butler interception, and they were thinking about are they going to call a timeout? He looked over there and he's like, they look flustered. I'm not going to bail them out.
When we're talking about the Malcolm Butler interception, I saw this great YouTube clip from the NFL where they interviewed Belichick about that play, and he's like, we were practicing with Malcolm because he said that he had gotten beat on that exact play prior to the season. Then he did practice it, and of course it's like a minuscule one-time thing that you would never think actually have to be prepared for, that he had just recently started practicing for, and it comes through.
It just speaks to the preparedness of Belichick. I thought it was really interesting. I didn't pay all the world attention to what they were doing for the 2 weeks because it's normally a lot of ho-hum stuff. They've been here for so long. But couple things were really interesting about it. They prepared the bye week like they were playing Sunday for the Super Bowl. So I think we can all agree last year they weren't prepared. I think Brady bailed them out that they weren't prepared for the game plan at all, especially the defense was getting torched by, Saint
the one
Nick,
and only
Saint Nick. And then this week they were unbelievably prepared. So much so that on Saturday before the game, they were supposed to have a walkthrough. Did you guys see what happened?
No, I didn't.
They invited their families over because they knew they had it. They knew they were ready for Jared Goff. One anonymous player said we knew he was going to, crap himself. Gosh,
he was going to turtle.
They were all right about that, weren't they? They were so much more prepared.
Thank God they were right, because if not, if they end up losing that game, I think we all look at that day and say, Bill,
Absolutely.
what happened to no days off?
Well, Andreas, some of the guys on the stations in Boston were talking about last year when he went to the Timberwolves game.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and they got shredded. So it's all about what happens afterwards. There's all hindsight with that. If it works well, you were prepared, you were right. If you lose, that's an awful
And
look.
I think some of that is just up to luck and what happens during the game, because the game, all sports have some measure of luck in them. It's not all skill unless it's like chess. But I mean, you look at that and yeah, it's all hindsight.
Yeah, with that one definitely. But also with the Patriots, now we can go over to the defense played out of their minds. It was probably the best defensive performance by a Belichick team since they shut down the Greatest Show on Turf to 14. I can't even think of anything close to that since then.
Well, it was without a doubt their best defensive performance of this season. I
gosh,
remember.
definitely.
I remember we would talk about earlier in like September and October when the season was. Oh, we have a caller.
That is
Call
a
Schmaltz
caller.
to see if we can hook it
All
up.
right, let me see if I remember
Come
how
on,
to do this.
Multi.
Just give me a quick second.
Yeah, all
here.
right,
Please keep talking.
Schmaltz is the producer. He'll try to figure it out. But, Andre, so we're going to go over a little bit also later about the legacy, about how this affected Belichick and Brady. I think this was a huge help for Belichick because, think about it, of the 9 Super Bowls that Brady and Belichick have been a part of, Brady has been the better of the two in, 7 of the Super Bowls, right? Would you say?
I mean, some of the early ones, I'd give more credit to Belichick because, Brady was still early in his career. Multi, did you fail? Did you? Oh, man.
Schmaltz.
I regret to inform us,
Multi-turtle.
everybody, that
Schmaltz.
we have lost
That
our
phone
caller.
is hard to maneuver.
Multi just sort of
not
get-
maneuver.
My
Multi
God,
just
you
sort of
know
gives
turtle.
like the look of shame there. It's
Jared
like,
Goff.
like
Whoever-
a dog that's like pooped
All
in the
right,
house.
let me try
Here
this
we go.
again.
Here we go.
Take 2.
Come on, Daniel, Jared
All right,
Goff, Schmaltz.
I'm going to weigh in on that, though, for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Multi.
Ben,
Okay, I'll stop.
My God, I'm trying to talk here.
Seriously.
But yeah, this one definitely a check mark for Belichick. And watching that game, if you look at the stat line for Tom Brady after the game, you say, all right, he had a pretty good game. I mean, the scoreboard doesn't show it, but he had a pretty good game. Just based on the eye test alone, ignoring the stats,
This is worst Super Bowl.
C plus maybe.
Yeah, let's give him a
I
C.
give him a C plus. I
Yeah.
mean, he had a good drive towards the end there.
Played well in the fourth quarter. When they
Yeah.
needed 2 scoring drives, he came up with the plays. For
Yeah,
sure.
so he had good plays. He had a couple good drives, but by and large, I thought Brady kind of sucked in that game.
Especially in the first half.
Passer rating of 71.4, by the way.
He did throw for over 200 and what?
262
yards.
But that's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
21
To
completions,
see that,
35 attempts.
How many times do they have to punt the ball? You
For
know,
sure.
it's like
Too many.
Yeah, Dave
fake
Schmaltz
stat.
is very anti-punt.
I'm most definitely not anti-punt. I'm anti almost as many punts as points in a game. And a quick update on the caller. Whoever has now tried to call, I deeply apologize. The first time was definitely my fault. I may or may not have hung up on you. But the second time, I was talking to whoever was on the line for a hot sec, and then I'm pretty sure he hung up this time.
Got scared. He heard
First
your
time-
voice and was like, I'm
Yeah,
out.
I know. First time, I definitely take the blame for it. I probably messed something up. But second time, I had a little convo going, and then I lost him. So
Multi is as anti-call as he is anti-punt.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you
no, I am definitely
you
down
like more
for
hang-ups than calls or more punts than points? What do you think?
no comment.
Okay, no. But also, so now we should probably go into what happened in this game that we totally didn't expect to happen. I was surprised that Brady's first pass was intercepted. I think that was pretty surprising.
Johnny Hecker almost doubling the number of yards thrown by either quarterback. 417 yards
Great stat.
on 9
man.
punts.
Great
Julian
stat.
Edelman having more yards than the entire Rams team for almost the whole game.
Great one.
16 points in the entire game when the line was 40 points higher.
I mean, just the score. I mean, didn't we all think this was going to be a shootout?
Yeah, we were all talking
We're
like
all at least in
I
the high
even
20s.
predicted it.
The line was
like,
56 and a
I
half.
even predicted it. Another WTBU staff member, Brady Gardner, was sending out
Oh, yeah,
texts.
we gave him a shout out
yeah,
for that.
survey,
Yeah, yeah.
yep,
We
yep.
shouted out Brady. We shouted out your prediction as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I predicted that the losing team would be like in the 30s,
let's pull-
high 30s,
Yeah, let's
winner in the mid
expose
40s.
all the
I'm just
WTBU.
No, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, 'cause-
pull up Brady's article again, and we're just gonna rehash
Yeah,
some of
'cause
these
we were
predictions
wrong.
just to show how
Let's
wrong.
throw people under the bus with great intentions.
I'll give
Well, the
Andreas
moral
and
of
I.
the okay, well,
Andreas and I deserve credit, I think, for two things. Because Andreas, you pulled up the zone. How about how Goff sucked in the zone, and what do? They play zone most of the time. And then I think I was right with they weren't going to get much pressure on Brady. They sacked him once, they hit him like twice, and they had like 2 pressures. So the offensive line played well for the Patriots, and that would really help Brady. Even though he didn't find all the throws, he wasn't getting cracked all the time. Like Goff took some big hits in that game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was getting crunched.
So
Definitely.
I want to table this for later, but you brought up the pressure that they didn't get on Brady. I think we got to talk about, what's next for the Patriots moving into this offseason. Who are they going to bring back? Who are they going to let go? Because they've got some real decisions to make between Flowers, Trent Brown, who did an amazing job all year in this Super Bowl protecting Tom Brady.
I think he had Donald one-on-one at one point and didn't get him anywhere close to Brady.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's like a refrigerator.
Oh, for sure.
It's insane. But yeah, I mean, you're right. That was a huge factor in this game, just the fact that Brady wasn't pressured at all, because this year, more so than other years, it feels like Brady gets a little bit sheepish under pressure.
Yeah, I think he's realizing now, like, I'm 41, I can't take the same big hits. I think he also had the knee issue in November when he tried to catch the pass in Tennessee, and he was a little bit squeamish for a few weeks after that. That reminded me of a few throws where he missed White a couple of times out of the backfield. It's like, ugh, that looks kind of like in November when he couldn't find the routes.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, that was huge in this game. That line, that defensive line, I think we all identified that as a factor that could make or break the game for the Rams.
Definitely.
Because, I mean, obviously very explosive between Sue, Donald, some of the other guys on that line. And they were nullified by and large. And that was huge. I mean, that's a huge reason. Brady should have scored more on them.
He left a ton of points on the floor. They
Right.
should have been up by 2 scores at least at half.
Can I just read out the results of the Rams drives for a second? Because I think everyone watching the game sort of took in what was going. Oh, my voice there. Took in what was going on, but hasn't really processed it since then. So I'm just going to go through here really quickly. We got punt, 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 punt.
Schmaltz, cover
punt,
your ears.
Punt, field goal, punt,
turn his mic
interception, missed field goal. That's the game.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
And so also just to
Put that
further
on a t-shirt.
just to further rehash how shocked everybody was with the scores. So back to Brady's good old article here.
Yep.
So remember, folks, that the score of the game was 16 total points, and of the participants in Brady's survey, the lowest total point total that any among us predicted was 42. So everybody here at WTBU Sports that Brady asked, and everybody who gave their 2 cents on last Friday's show, everybody thought it was going to be a 40-plus point game. And as we've said time and time again, the line was 56.5 points. This is
unreal.
I mean, look, for however many reasons you want to attribute it to, it was the most disappointing offensive game because of the fact that nobody, and I really would venture to say nobody, thought that between the two teams there would be less than 20 points.
Yeah.
Maybe even less than 30 or 35, but less than 20 points in a game between the Patriots, who are the kings and princes of clutch in the postseason, and the Rams, who have such an explosive offense. Nobody could have ever dreamt up a 16-point Super Bowl.
You're so right, Schmaltz. If the over-under for the game was 20, there would have literally been 0.0 people in Vegas betting the under for that game.
No, and then that would have been a terrible line to establish for betting.
By the way, now looking back, it didn't cover by 4 to that.
I know, but it's the moral of the story with the game.
We're all
is
dumb,
just that
so we don't know anything.
Exactly. That's the marvel of professional sports. Just when you think you can predict almost everything down to the T, you realize that can all blow up in your face. And with everybody here at WTBU Sports, with the people who established the betting lines, the score of this game blew those bets up in their face.
Definitely. All right, we'll get back with a quicker segment on the Super Bowl, wrap up any other thoughts about Legacy, the parade, 12th championship in Boston since 2001. We'll go over all of that.
I want to tell you guys about how salty a certain Ben Silver was on Super Bowl night.
I wouldn't say salty. I was just
Yes,
Oh my God, you were salty.
I was sort of having fun.
Ben,
I don't know.
Andreas, and I were all at the same Super Bowl party. We'll have we'll have some gossip.
Let's
for
go.
you.
We'll get over that.
all that coming up after this quick break. We'll be right back.
Let's do it.
Take it away, Chad.
I think now we should bring up the question of going and putting this Patriots dynasty into perspective a little bit. We went over the game and why they're just better than everybody else. So, after this game, did Brady's or Belichick's legacies go up, down, sideways in your mind? What happened? Ben, let's start with you. What happened with Tom and Bill?
I mean, it took a little notch up. I don't think it can go much up from here. I don't think it can go much down. It's cemented as probably the greatest football dynasty of all time. I mean, I say that with like a little bit of a question inflection in there, but
Who's better?
Why is the question?
Because I'm not sure.
And it's maybe
What do you mean
not.
you're not sure?
It's definitely football.
okay. It's the greatest football dynasty of all time.
Yeah, it's arguably in sports, and we can get into
No,
that.
not in sports.
Yeah,
the
it
Yankees
is.
once won 5 championships straight, and
Yeah,
then
when
they
there was
made-
like 7 teams and no African Americans.
No.
No, this was 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, and Jackie Robinson debuted in 47.
Yeah, no, there was one, dude.
His
No,
100, his 100th
and Larry Doby,
birthday.
and Willie Mays, and Roy Campanella, and those are just the 4 guys I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh,
And
that's
Satchel
four.
Paige.
Yeah, there was.
And Satchel Paige. I can guarantee you.
the pinnacle of racial diversity.
Stop. Hey.
There was
Don
not
Newcomb.
many in 1949, Ben, because Robinson only debuted in 47.
In 1949,
Yeah,
Every team had like 1 or 2, so there was
Dodgers-
like 12 teams. There was at the most 25.
the Dodgers alone,
The
and the
most.
Dodgers had 3 African Americans by 49. They had Robinson, they had Don Newcomb, and then they had Roy Campanella. Let's move on from that, please.
No, just putting it all in perspective.
Yeah, just
so-
what we're walking
yeah.
on incredibly thin ice here.
No,
No,
Like-
we're not walking on thin ice.
Yeah.
Let's just not derail here.
What did anyone say that was offensive there?
No.
No. I'm not saying that anyone said
I'm just
anything
trying to keep
offensive.
us on track,
I'm
that's
just
all.
saying whatever. It doesn't matter.
It might be the greatest in sports. You know, it might be the greatest dynasty in sports.
No,
I
it's
can't.
not.
I can't think of another team and coaching star player duo that for all but 1 in 20 straight seasons was not only a playoff contender but a Super Bowl contender. The only year they weren't 2008 when Brady got injured, but every other year of the Brady Belichick era, I can't think. Every single year they were playoff and Super Bowl contenders, and I can't.
2002 was the only the year after they won their first one, but that's the only time they haven't gone to the playoffs with Brady as a quarterback.
Sure, and
Yeah, yeah. Like, that's insane.
just to further cement that, we're talking about 18 seasons from 18 seasons.
18, yeah, you're right, because you don't count 2008.
Yeah, 18 seasons from 2001 through 2018 where they were playoff and Super Bowl contenders for 17 of them. I don't even think there was a Yankees stretch where for 2 whole decades they were not only playoff teams but World Series teams every year. Now, obviously,
95 to 2012, they only missed the playoffs in 08. And
yeah, but they didn't make it to the Championship Series of the World Series. Not even half of those times.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, because
6,
the Patriots have
7.
been Final Four 8 straight years now. I don't think the Yankees have done
it's
that.
It's also totally different. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about, in baseball, you're playing 5 and 7 game series. You're playing almost 200 games in a season. Football, it's 16 regular season games and then 2 or 3
Absolutely.
in the. It's totally different. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's just that the legacy can only grow from here because these guys at this point they have nothing to prove. They have beaten all different kinds of teams. They have earned all different kinds of victories in these games. So all they can do from now is just keep piling up the dubs while this duo is still together, because nobody now that especially since Garoppolo got traded, which we all know had to happen. But now
him or
that
Brady.
but
Yep.
now that that's happened, there is a legitimate full question mark as to what the bleep the Patriots are going to do when Brady's gone. So this legacy is not finished yet because, as we know, Brady said at Media Day, what are the % chance you are retiring after the Super Bowl? And he said straight up one word, 0. He is not done yet. So while he's still going and while he's still the king of clutch in fourth quarters and in the playoffs, just keep cementing that legacy because there's never going to be a bigger one.
So I think there are 2 ways of looking at this. There's looking at Brady and Belichick, the pair, and then looking at both of those guys individually. As for the pair, this definitely helps them. And the way that I think it helps them most is just semantically, 6-3 looks better than 5-4. No,
Definitely. Last year, I don't think it was as big a swing as this year was. I don't know if you guys disagree, but just going from
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a bigger swing game.
That's fair. That's very fair.
And the Atlanta year, it was, let's see, we would have been looking at I'm terrible.
5-2 as opposed to 4-3. You know, the biggest one was the Seattle one. Because then he would have
Right.
been 0-3 and hasn't won one since 2004. And he would have been 3-3 in the Super Bowl. So that
Right.
was probably the biggest of his career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Sadly.
And you know, the funny thing about that game is that, yeah, I mean, Belichick certainly played a huge part in aligning up the defense, but Brady played zero part in the way that game ended.
Right. I mean, that was the Butler year.
Played awesome in the fourth quarter. So
No, yeah, but
Yeah,
like in the play that won them the game. The
actual
Brady
Butler
was not-
interception?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brady
But-
was just on the sideline,
Yeah.
But he
jumping
put
up and
them
down
in
like a little
position
Yeah, that
to
was-
be able to win
Oh,
that
absolutely.
game.
I'm not trying to deny what he did before that.
That might have been his best quarter ever. That fourth quarter against Seattle. That might be like the creme de la creme
Oh,
of
no,
Tom Brady's career.
I still look at the Atlanta goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to go for Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know.
sorry.
He threw for 144 yards or something in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns against Seattle's Legion of Boom.
Yeah, but he kind of.
Yeah,
but
well, what did he throw for against Atlanta? I don't have the numbers, but I
Yeah.
mean, he threw for like 550 yards that game. So
I'd say
was
Well,
that was I thought that was the Philly game.
No.
The Philly game. If he would have
game.
scored a touchdowns against Ben Eagles last year, that would have been by far the best game he ever played because he would have had a turnoverless postseason, probably 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl with like 560 yards.
But he did turn it over to
absolutely. So that's
Big Bren
yeah,
Grimm.
Absolutely.
Shout out.
Absolutely.
So, but just going back to the original point,
Yeah.
if you're looking at these two guys individually, I think this is one of the great Belichick masterpieces, potentially his best
Definitely.
work ever. For Brady, I feel like he kind of rode the coattails of other guys into this one. Not saying that he didn't have a good drive to put them ahead in the fourth, or was it the third?
No, the fourth.
It was
in the
the fourth.
It was the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
They scored 2 times in the fourth quarter.
Right. So I'm not saying that he didn't help it along, but overall, like I said earlier, I thought it was kind of a C+ for him. I mean, I think he kind of rolled out of bed into that one. So I don't think, for me personally, it doesn't add to his legend. It adds to Bill's legend of like, just especially in the context of this year, where everyone is buttering Sean McVay's ass and
Definitely.
just the new young offensive mind everyone's bending over for. And Bill comes out and he emasculated this guy. I mean, seriously, he took the pants off this guy and made him look like a fool.
Yeah, didn't we say that right? Like shortly before you arrived, I think we kind of agreed on that point. Is that you look at the NFL, you look at all these college teams, they're bringing in these young coaches, these guys in their 30s, and you look at what happened to McVay, where he personally admits to being outcoached by an older generation, older school coach.
There's probably a lot of sweaty owners up there who's like, "Oh, I just hired this guy as quarterbacks coach. I'm
And
not
that's-
sure this is the best decision
and
right now."
that's the- and that's the
I
exact-
think they're still confident. It's
I don't know.
Bill
Owners can be dumb
Belichick is
after one game.
Yes, but I mean that's the exact. But the fact that you look at all these organizations who were all now just wanting to go invest in young coaches, and guys like Bill Belichick, the reason they still get employed by NFL teams is because you can say what you want about how innovative the young coaches are, but I'm still the one walking away with the rings. Don't you think that says something? Because it does.
Definitely.
and good on Sean McVay for being an analytical coach and bringing himself to the Super Bowl. I mean, great job on him. I don't think people are giving him kudos for that, but it's like we've all been saying, the big game he turtled.
Yeah, kudos to McVay. He put together an unbelievable season, unbelievable postseason, unbelievable run to get to the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, once you get there, nobody cares how you got there. Now you're there. Now you got to win. And I'm sorry, the Rams had a terrible game.
And going back to Brady and Belichick's thing of Belichick has had probably 3 of the most well-coached, well-defensed games in Super Bowl history with last Sunday, obviously. The Rams when he shut down the greatest show on turf to 14 points, and then when he messed around with Jim Kelly enough where the Giants beat them in one of the biggest upsets. So that's probably Belichick's best 3 games. This one was huge for Belichick because I'm looking back at all the times that Brady has bailed out Belichick for either bad mistakes by his defense in Super Bowls or playoff games, or bad mistakes by Bill Belichick, the GM, that cost him to have a worse team in the regular season or postseason. So I think it's great that Bill finally was able to put Tom on his back and bring him to a Super Bowl because he hasn't done that, and it arguably the first Philly game 15 years ago, and definitely since the Rams won. So Tom's legacy might not have gone up as much as Bill's after this, but Tom's still the greatest quarterback ever, Bill's still the greatest head coach ever, and they obviously are just they're just the best when they're combined.
Well, Chad, you brought up a really good point. When's the last time you felt like this team has spent enough money in the offseason on offensive weapons?
Yeah, Brady's like covered up just so many of their ability to go cheap in the passing game because of just Tom's greatness.
The only year that I can really think of where I was blown away by what they had on offense was probably the Moss year where they went 18-1.
Yeah. I know they traded a first rounder for Moss.
Yeah, and so that's the only year that I feel like I was really blown away by what they had. And I'm not saying that they haven't had enough a lot of years. Sure, they've had enough a lot of years, but there have also been ups and downs like with any team. And the level of consistency that Brady has brought to the organization offensively throughout every roster that they've had in here is amazing. And some of those times you look at Bill and you're like, dude, what the hell? You've got the best quarterback in the league and you're putting this around him?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think you can look at that not just for Super Bowls, but I mean seasons.
Yeah, like that's a couple of the famous times where they didn't get to the Super Bowl, and Brady's still putting up, like the 06 when he didn't have anybody to throw to the year before they traded for Moss, and he still put up 34 points on the road in an AFC Championship game. Like there have been times where Brady's brought the team further than they probably should have been.
Oh, I think you could argue that for potentially a majority of years.
Yeah. And that just summarizes the impact that he's had on the team, and that further backs up the fact that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. You need to have a particular level of football skills and football intellect to be aware of the fact that your team is probably not supposed to be here, but you're here, and this team needs me to come through because I am the best option and I am the greatest weapon that we have to take us the next step. And year after year after year, Brady has proven that statement is correct, that he is that weapon, he is that piece that gets them to the next step, and that's why they've gotten to 9 Super Bowls and they've won 6 of them. Easy, plain and simple.
So, not to change the topic too rapidly here, but if we can pivot to what next for the Patriots, because I'm looking at this offseason and I think this is a hugely pivotal offseason for them. They could either kind of elongate the tenure of Tom Brady and this Patriots dynasty, or they could kind of shoot it down the drain. And there are a few specific scenarios that I could see happening. So let's start with retirements. Gronk being the biggest name on that list of people who might retire. You can also look at the McCourty brothers who have considered retirement. And not quite a retirement, but I'd throw the health of Patrick Chung in there because he's coming out of the Super Bowl pretty banged up. And in addition to the retirements, free agency. We've got Trent Brown, who, like I mentioned earlier, stellar year at the left tackle.
Awesome.
Most important position on the offensive line. And this offensive line is probably the best in the Brady Belichick era. Right?
I mean, at least since probably the first 3 Super Bowls back there when they had some guys with, but definitely the first of the modern wins. I'd say so.
And the other big guy to look at, Trey Flowers, who was a juggernaut on your defense this year. I think he had 8 sacks. Is that right? About 8 sacks.
Also, a lot of pressures too. His numbers might not look a little bit worse because he didn't quite have the sack totals other these guys have, but they did really good job this year of getting pressure on the quarterback, especially in the second half of the season and really in the postseason.
So Flowers and Brown are probably going to be in the range of $14 to $20 million a year guys.
You go that high for Trent Brown?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Then they're probably not going to sign either.
Well,
of them.
I think that's what his market is going to demand.
Is that high? They're probably not going to sign either of them.
Well,
they have Wynn coming back for the offensive line, and Belichick always just kind of puts guys in at the defensive line.
Sorry.
But, yeah.
If you give me Isaiah Wynn, I know he's a first round pick, but that guy is 6'1", 6'2". I mean, he looks like he's half the size of Trent Brown.
And Trent Brown is a unit. He's insane.
Who outmatched Trent Brown this year?
No, especially when they all got healthy.
Did Jadeveon Clowney outmatch Trent Brown?
No
one outmatched Trent Brown. So if you want to give me tiny little Isaiah Wynn, basically the Isaiah Thomas equivalent of an offensive lineman, the whiny little peanut Isaiah Thomas.
Back of the Briggs truck.
So if you want to give me the peanut offensive lineman over Trent Brown, go pound sand. My God, I will be furious if they let Brown walk. But what I'm saying is that between those two guys, you hope that they come away with one. Obviously, you hope they come away with 2, but that's not realistic.
They're probably going to lose. They're probably going to lose Trey Flowers. Belichick doesn't pay a ton for interior defensive linemen. He'd rather get a guy who's 75-80% of Trey Flowers for. For what, 70% of the production?
Yeah.
80% of the production?
But here's my point, is going into this offseason, they have about $20 million in cap space. they're probably going to renegotiate Brady's contract, and there are probably some other guys that might be up for renegotiations. Best case scenario, in my opinion, is if McCourty and Gronk walk. Clear out that extra cap space, because I think McCourty probably getting into the back nine of his career. Gronk, and he hinted at retirement.
I think he's even gone beyond hinting that. Like he there's probably like over under probably 60% chance he's probably retiring, right? Like I'd say it's better than not that he retires.
I want to call it a 50-50.
You want to call it 50?
but
it's close.
but-
there's a really good chance
Hitting the
Gronk has played his
coconut
last
too many
game.
times.
but
What's up?
Too many hits in the coconut.
Oh, for sure. He's talked about that. He
Yeah.
said like I'm
Yeah.
just taking just a beat. No, he's an old 30 even by NFL standards.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's incredible that he can still talk.
Wait, are we talking about Gronk or McCourty?
Yeah, no,
at this point?
Gronk. Because
Oh,
I mean, you
totally-
start with his like intelligence before the NFL and come to it right now. After all those hits, I mean, I'm impressed.
I'm glad he's
I don't
football
know.
smart. You know, I'm glad he's football smart.
yeah, he's got
he's-
that going for him. At
Yeah,
least.
He's always
definitely.
sounded like a golden retriever to me, but
Yeah.
But seriously, I thought we were talking about McCourty. Gronk, I think probably a 60-70% chance of retirement.
Yeah.
But what if he comes back next year? I mean, didn't it really feel like he was reaching as far back as he could for these last two
He
games?
did. He gave it all, especially in the blocking game where he wasn't getting the targets.
Because look at how he was all year, and then what he was able to give you in these last two games. I mean, he was really, really reaching back for everything he had, and I don't know. I just really don't think you're going to get much out of him next year if he comes back. And as much as it's been nice watching him this during his era, and as much as I think all Patriots fans are emotionally attached to him, I want to see the guy walk, because I want the cap space, and I don't want to see the guy just kind of mail it in out there.
If he came back, how much would you be willing to pay for him?
I think the number would be insulting.
What would the number be? What would you give him?
Does anyone know what his current contract is?
I think
it was like-
he didn't reach. It's weird with his contract. He didn't reach the incentives. I think he
Was
was,
it like 8 without the incentives? Was that what it was?
around that. Yeah. So would you give him like 5, 6?
I don't even know if I'd be there. Like 3.5, 4.
Really? Okay.
And at that point, that's insulting.
If they could bump it up to 6, he might come back. But like also, he just might be done. You know. He might be done. He was saying afterwards, like I guess he took a massive, just a wicked shot to the thigh, and he said like he couldn't walk for like the day after. Like he is feeling it right now, and I think he was living it up at the parade even more so than usual. It might be like this is the last time I'm doing this. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, he should just walk and go make movies or wrestle or something. I mean,
Oh, I'd love to see him in the WWE.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
he-
even watch wrestling, but I
Yeah.
might watch wrestling just to watch Gronk.
Yeah. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up with just one thing. I want you guys to just go around and say just the most impressive thing about this Patriots run in your eyes. Just maybe not the most impressive, but one thing either about this game or the last 18 years. Daniel, want to start us off?
I mean, just the ability of this team to adapt year in and year out to what they know they're good at and what they know they're bad at, and to still be in the hunt every year. I mean, it's a level of genius coaching and a couple of key players always being around to always be the guiding force of the team, but somehow, some way, with the exception of 2008 and 2002, 17 of the last 19 years, we have never. Let me start again. For 17 of the last 19 seasons, we have firmly believed that the Patriots have the ability to contend for the Super Bowl, even if. Even at starts of seasons like this one, where they were 1-2, and a lot of us on this very show were a little panicky that this might be the end of the Patriots run. I remember people saying those exact words 4 months later. Who's laughing now? But everybody who doubted the Patriots, because guess what? Despite all the other good teams out there, despite the younger QBs, the younger coaches, the more innovation, New England still freaking wins.
Still here.
They are still here. It's just the most impressive feat of sports that will never happen again.
I'm going to cheat and say 2. But
Chill. It's all right.
just Tom Brady's age. I mean,
wow.
I've
Cut me
been
off.
saying it.
I know, seriously. I guess because you had two, I guess Ben wanted to get his point
What was
before
that?
you had two.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I was confused.
Yeah,
No,
Ben,
keep
go
going,
ahead.
keep going.
You go. No, you go
Yeah,
ahead.
Ben,
No,
he's got
you
two.
go. No,
Ben, he's got two.
You,
so
you
can
can't
go.
steal my thunder and then give it back. You
Yeah,
just
sure.
have to
Okay,
keep
okay.
going.
I'll just say I
Philly
I was
Snake over here. Kevin Durant's in the studio.
Yes.
I should have let those guys kick the crap out of you the other night.
I would have beat him up, but that's besides the point. My stick body would have done a great job. But Tom Brady's age, just the fact that I don't know. I didn't expect him to win another Super Bowl. I mean, it's just every year I've expected. Oh, he's too old. He won't make it. Oh, he'll get knocked out in the playoffs. Oh, he's made it here, but this is the end for him. He's gonna retire next year, but he keeps doing it. He keeps proving me wrong, and I can't stand him. I hate him for it.
I gotta agree with Ben on this one. Just Brady still standing tall at 41.
41, 42
41.
next time he takes the field.
Ooh, yeah, still standing tall.
So
Now to your 2 points.
He's like, okay,
What a tease.
I don't know how y'all are
he
gonna
paused for a second to make sure everybody else was done.
Yeah.
wait. I don't know if y'all are gonna like this comparison. I mean, it's a Bruins and everything. So he's like the Zdeno Chara of football, I feel.
Yeah, but Zdeno Chara
is like the Tom Brady of hockey. I mean, it's like saying that something. It's like those Chuck Norris memes. It's like,
It could go either way.
Zdeno Chara is the Jamie Moyer of hockey. He's
Well, no,
good,
he's
but he's not like
He's not the Tom Brady
elite.
of hockey.
Well,
Yeah.
not anymore.
And it's like Jamie Moyer used to be
Yeah.
a great pitcher, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
by the end of his career and he's 50
Okay,
years
wait.
old.
Can I say Joe Thornton then, not Zdeno Chara?
Yeah. Sure.
I'll say
Sure.
Joe Thornton. I'm gonna say
been,
Joe
been
Thornton.
around forever and still kicking it.
He's mediocre,
Yes.
but anyways.
Forget about it.
Anyways, now my 2 points.
Let's
Can
hear
I
'em.
please? Okay. What I am most impressed with this entire dynasty is Bill's ability, year in and year out, to take bums off of practice squads and turn them into starters. I mean, there have been players during this run who Bill will call up to start when there's an injury, or even when he just doesn't want to pay someone. You're like, holy crap. Like, who
who's
is
that
this
guy?
loser?
Yeah.
Like, where the hell did he find this guy? And time and time again, he makes it work. It's unbelievable. I mean, seriously, some of the guys that have had big games, Jonas Gray, who ran for like 230 yards
It's like
and
4
then
touchdowns.
and then didn't play any. I to my knowledge, hasn't played anywhere else. Like,
No,
he might be filling out a practice squad spot right now. But
he might be working at CVS on Comm Ave for all we know. Like, you don't know where he is.
I mean, holy
off the face of
crap!
the
It's
earth.
like, where does Bill get these guys, and how does he make them into what they are? It's unbelievable. The other thing that I'm most impressed with has nothing to do with Bill or the players. It's the ability of this fan base, year in, year out, to feel violated, offended, and victimized when every single year we stick it to the rest of the league. Every year, pretty much every year, in some capacity, we end up standing on top of our soapbox with our middle fingers raised to the rest of the league. And we can't accept that. We can't take enough pleasure in that. It still has to be about Deflategate, about Spygate, and how Goodell wants to screw us over. Yeah, Felga. Goodell's got it in for us. Every single
Conspiracy
year.
theories, man.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable how just pissed off this fan base is in light of the success that we've had here.
Absolutely. You guys are bringing some great points. I'm sure the haters are all there. Max Kellerman just, it makes me happy knowing that he can't sleep at night after Tom just ruined his life again. Rob Parker, some of those other losers out there. But I'm serious, like the Boston Globe, they wrote that the Patriots fans don't care this year. The Ducklings didn't have their jerseys on in the Commons. So obviously there was no passion when like 40,000 people went to the send-off parade.
Hey, I had my jersey on.
Thank you. Your Daryl Dawkins jersey, like all the other Philly guys.
Daryl Dawkins.
Freaking dirtbag from Philly over here.
Daryl Dawkins? Excuse me?
Yeah, the Sixers.
Anyway,
Yeah, Mike Schmidt.
alrighty.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you got one name
And-
right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And then so last thing I'd say the most impressive thing about this run is that in every Super Bowl except one, the Patriots. Tom has given them the lead in the fourth quarter in every single one of the Super Bowls they played in except one. Do you guys know which one that was?
What was the question?
What's the one Super Bowl the Patriots never had a lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl?
Talking about ones that they've won, correct?
No, just of the 9. There's one time they didn't have the lead in the fourth quarter.
Falcons.
Good, Ben. You got it. The overtime. That's the only time they didn't lead is the one they actually won. Every other time, actually they ended up winning that one anyway. But Brady, the offense, the defense have found a way to be up in the fourth quarter. Obviously, there's a play or two away that their legacy can be dramatically changed in every Super Bowl. There's a couple plays here or there. There's scenarios where they're 9-0. I mean, that's unlikely, but I guess there's a scenario where there's 0-9, and I'm sure it's more likely that they'd be 9-0. But every single time they've been ahead in the big game. And in the Falcons Super Bowl, they were able to pull it off in overtime. Every single time they're in the Super Bowl, they give the other team hell. They're ready to play every time, regardless about how talented their offense was, how banged up the defense was, whether Belichick made a bad mistake, whether Brady threw a pick six. They're always in it at the end, and I think that's the most impressive thing. The big game, there's the hardest thing to kill.
Alrighty, I think that's just about going to wrap us up for what has been extensive Super Bowl analysis. All great stuff, but let's totally shift the gears now. Let's give a little love to the good old NBA. The NBA trading deadline just elapsed a couple of days ago. There were a couple of big moves that were made and a huge move that was not made. So let's get into all that.
So we're starting with the moves that were made or the move that was not made?
So let's start with the one big move that wasn't made, because I think it was the move. It was the big time trade that everybody was talking about. We're talking about, of course, Anthony Davis potentially getting traded from the Pelicans somewhere. Everybody was saying that it might happen, it might not happen, whatever, and it doesn't end up going down.
Nope, it doesn't. I think the funniest thing about that is after the trade doesn't go through and all the young players are on the bench for the Lakers and the Lakers are just getting absolutely taken to the cleaners by the Indiana Pacers. I think they lost the biggest loss of LeBron James' career, and LeBron was sitting at the end of
Lakers
the bench.
history, I think.
And Lakers history. LeBron James was sitting at the bench alone. There was 3 spots separating him from the next player. God, that picture, that just said it all about the state.
Yeah.
The state of just how infuriated the young Lakers probably are at LeBron right now.
God, I would both hate to be a Laker fan or Laker player or LeBron. I mean, being any of them would suck.
Well, but the fact that this trade didn't get made has huge implications for how the Celtics are going to approach this offseason. And I think you can probably directly point to the fact that Danny Ainge dangled Jason Tatum out to the Pelicans as to why that trade didn't go through, right? Because I mean the Lakers offered them a king's ransom.
Yeah, there are four starters or 4 important players on the team plus 2 first-round picks?
Yeah.
Was that the reported one?
I think I mean, there were so many different packages.
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember exactly.
I heard there might have even been a rumor that there was 4 first-round picks.
But I think it was something along the lines of their pick of 2 between Kuzma, Ingram, Ball, maybe just one of those guys. But there were some other pieces in there that are, part of the package, not necessarily headliners, and then the picks, obviously.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is, I mean, multiple reports have indicated that Ainge hasn't promised the Pelicans anything, but has suggested that he has a package that could beat what the Lakers have. If you look person to person between, let's take the 4 biggest names: Ball, who sucks, Ingram, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kuzma. Sorry, that's 5.
Yeah.
I think the way that list orders is Tatum at the top, Kuzma, then Brown. And so you have
then probably like Ball, Ingram toss-up, like depending on just what you like.
Ingram and then Ball, because Ball sucks.
You're
But
not high on the defense?
no, Ball sucks. But Danny must have offered or indicated that Tatum could be a part of a package for them to hold off. Now, I look at this Celtics offseason, and I expressed my concerns last week. But I look at Kyrie Irving, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if he's a guy that's going to come back and re-sign here. He might, but I don't like the way he's narrated the discourse around it recently. I don't like the trepidation that he's had and the way that he's treated the media. So I'm not sure if he's going to re-sign here. And I'm not sure if he doesn't re-sign here, if you're going to be able to get Davis to sign long-term, even if they're able to trade for him.
I definitely. If Kyrie goes to some other team, they wouldn't be able to sign Davis.
So this is the real question for me: is if you don't get Kyrie, even if you do get Kyrie to re-sign, you're taking a risk on sending Tatum there for Davis. So if Kyrie doesn't sign, you get Davis in the trade. You could be porked.
Yeah,
you could be porked because you're sending away Jason Tatum, who projects to be a franchise guy. So this offseason could either make or break this massive rebuild that Danny has put us on the path of. And we're past the rebuilding stage now, right? We're past,
they're going for.
I mean, they
they're
still have the
competing.
slogan, but we're past See Us Rise. We're past that. This is supposed to be the unit. It hasn't been because of Hayward, and now they need another piece. So depending on how Danny manages this, you could find yourself in a couple of years without Tatum, without Davis, and without Kyrie.
I think I heard a good point. I don't know how true this is of how much accuracy there really is to this, but Ainge, I think if he trades for Davis, it's almost like signing the contract without actually putting the signature on it of Davis is committed to staying to the Celtics. I don't think he's going to do that if it's like, oh, there's a pretty good chance that Davis would play there for a year, then still test free agency. It's like, I'm not giving up Tatum for that then. I'm not giving that up for that big of a question mark.
See, I actually think Ainge would take the risk.
You think he would?
Because for years, Celtics fans, because of Danny Ainge, have had their pants off for this guy. I mean, Danny Ainge, people have been talking about Danny Ainge as a fiction for this guy for as long as I've followed the Celtics. Well,
7 years now, right? Like when did he go to Kentucky? 2012. Like it's been years now.
I mean, honest to God, I think Ainge takes his pants off every night for Anthony Davis. Like I think he brings a spare pair of pants to work with him in case he catches an Anthony Davis highlight.
He salutes him, man.
I mean, it is unbelievable how much he wants this player. And I think if he thought there was even an outside chance that Davis would resign here, he would take the risk.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Wow. Is there a scenario in which the Pelicans would ever trade Davis to the Celtics if they didn't get Tatum?
Hell no. Because what the Celtics now, they've got a couple mediocre picks to offer as a part of the deal. So at that point, you're centering the package probably around Jaylen Brown. I'd assume they'd send. Well, Rozier's probably going to sign elsewhere.
You could do a sign and trade.
You could do a sign and trade,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming it would have to center around Brown plus the picks, which is not as good as what the Lakers can offer because they have Kuzma, who's better than Brown, and if they throw in Ball or Hart, there are a couple other guys that you could get in the mix there, plus their picks. I mean, they have a better package than you do.
Yeah, I think at that point, I'm just not sure Ainge would do that with that much of a question mark. But then also, like, remember when like Garnett was traded here and they said like, oh, he might not like it. It took him years to come here because he didn't think he'd like playing in Boston. It took him 5 minutes to realize he loved it. Maybe Davis would fall in love with it just like that after a year and then be like, oh, I'm for sure signing. Like I love playing with Irving. I think playing with Al Horford, playing with whoever's still left at that point. Brad Stevens getting me to I'm finally on a contender for the first time in my career.
Or maybe he'll be like Kyrie and tell everyone that he loves it, but then back down off his statement.
Well, Kyrie's backed off his statements yet. He hasn't backed off of the move yet. It'll be really if Kyrie leaves in the free agency, then that'd be like he just lied to like the entire New England region.
And by the way, I don't want to spend too much time on this because there are other big moves that happened that I'd like to get to, but I just want to point out as kind of an addition to what I said about the state of the Celtics last week. So Kyrie calls Daddy and he says, "Oh, Bron, I'm so sorry for all the years that I was a pain in your ass. It's so hard to manage the kids, Bron." And then Daddy comes to town and he says, "Oh yeah? Sniff my ass." You're damn straight it was hard to deal with you. And now I'm going to pork you. Now I'm going to beat you in your house.
That was a wild game. Like, I don't know, we're not going to spend too much time talking about just the regular season game, but that was about as entertaining as like a February NBA game.
I mean, they were up 18. Kyrie at one point was 2 for 13, 2 for 17. So he calls Daddy to apologize, and then he turtles in front of Daddy. It's like, my God, Kyrie, what an embarrassment.
I'll give Irving somewhat of a pass for playing bad, because he never does. He never actually has like really, really, really bad shooting performances like that. Like I'll just give him
Well,
the
not
benefit
unless
of the
it's
doubt.
in front of Daddy.
That's all right. He got Daddy his last ring though, without the son. Like Daddy.
Daddy and son were playing together then.
Yeah, I know, but that's without the son, Daddy doesn't get that nice ring.
All right, so let's move on to
I
some
gotta
of-
ask Ben a question about
some of the other
Markel
ones that got
Fultz.
Yeah. Okay. Markel.
Let's do,
Yeah,
Markel
Markel
let's do
Fultz. Was
Tobias Harris too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Okay.
gotta ask Ben, like, how sad are you that Markel Fultz just failed?
I'm obviously upset that he failed, but I'm more interested in talking about the trade and the fact that the Sixers have given up on him. It's a strange. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because on one hand, I don't think his value is at the lowest it's ever been, and he still has potential. I mean, he certainly does. He's gonna. I think his shoulder injury will eventually heal. It's just.
Guy's a head case.
Yeah, will he come back from it though? I don't know if he can come back from
Doubt
it.
it.
And you could wait until he comes back from it and becomes a great piece, or he could just become nothing and his value will continue to decrease
Most
and
likely
decrease and decrease. And I'm I'm upset that he had to go. I'm gonna miss him. I wish him the best.
Really? I thought that guy was kind of a tool.
No, I really do. I hope he does well in Orlando.
I mean, yeah, I guess you always want to hope that the guy turns it around, but I thought he was kind of a tool the second he got to your team.
No, I mean he was never a tool. It's just he didn't know where he was. He didn't know how to play in the NBA, and I still don't think he knows how to play in the NBA. I don't think he's
Doesn't know how to shoot a free throw.
yeah. I don't think he's a tool. I just think he doesn't know where he is.
Boy, Danny really fleeced you guys.
I know,
on that
seriously.
one.
That might
Oh my
be-
God.
That's
He
probably
took
up
you
there.
people to the cleaners.
That's up
And
there
we
with
could have
probably the
picked
Garnett
Tatum.
trade.
We could have picked Tatum easily, and he was the number 2 pick. Why didn't we take Tatum? But
Great
I mean,
question.
it's all hindsight, like I said before. I don't know. I don't have much to say other than that about Fultz, but it's a sad story, and I wish him the best.
So where do you think Tobias Harris puts you now?
Top of the East.
Really?
I think the Sixers are, I shouldn't say without a doubt, but without a doubt, the best team in the East.
Is that just because you're from Philly and you're
I think part of
biased?
that is, but you
We'll admit it.
okay, but you look at, I'm actually looking at the current lineup for tonight's game right now. You have Ben Simmons, you have Joel Embiid, you have Tobias Harris, and you have Jimmy Butler. And rounding that all out, you have JJ Redick, who, while not a star, is a great role player. He can drain a three.
Right, but your bench got worse, and it was already your biggest weak point.
No, it didn't.
Yes,
How did
it
it
did.
get? I mean, we lost Shamit, but we got Ennis, we got Scott, we got Boban, and we only lost Muscala, Shamit, and Chandler. And Chandler is the only one of those guys. Oh, what am I saying? Shamit is. I really enjoy Shamit, and I think he's going to be a great piece. But Muscala is fine. Go. I'm glad he's gone. And Chandler is not good either. He can play, but he's not good. And then Shamit is obviously. I love Landry Shamit. It's sad to see him go.
So,
But-
I don't necessarily agree with you, and I'm not saying that because I think the Celtics are at the top. I think they should have been this year, and by and large, they haven't. I look at the Raptors, who added Marc Gasol, who, he's kind of on the back nine there, but
This is going to rejuvenate him, though.
you'd
This is gonna
hope
get
so.
him
I mean,
going.
you'd hope that they've already been a filthy team.
Yeah.
I mean, that lineup has really worked with Kawhi Leonard. I found it interesting that they were trying to deal Lowry at one point too. I think that would have been good for them. But
Lowry's annoying.
I also look to the Bucks, who I don't think their coach is a factor the way that Pop is, or that people say Brad Stevens is, but their coaching is competent this year. They've been shooting the three at almost a higher clip than any other team in the NBA. Giannis has really come into the role as the centerpiece of that team. He's moving the ball well. He's a physical freak. And they added another three-point shooter in Nikola Mirotic, who I think is... I mean, he's one of my favorite role players in the NBA.
He's a really talented
I'm
offensive
far
player.
more scared of the Bucks than I am of the Raptors.
Really?
Giannis is.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that talent-wise, though. I think you're more afraid of... I think you should be more afraid of the Bucks because the Raptors have choke in their DNA. Even
Well, Antetokounmpo didn't exactly light the world on fire in the first round against the Celtics. There was a couple times where he was just just driving from the free throw line, didn't exactly know where to go, just shot up a brick and transitioned the other way. So he needs to kind of rein it in for
Right.
the postseason.
Their coach also sucked.
Yeah, he got totally. Brad Stevens took his pants off.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
What is it with taking pants off?
Andre-
That's
put that
a
over
great
barrel.
phrase for Andreas. Like,
But yeah, I mean, I think your starting five is amongst the top 4 in the league at this point.
Hey, Ben, I also got a question about Philly's psyche. You got a couple guys who kind of folded last year against Boston in the playoffs. Are you at all worried that Embiid or Simmons are going to have some psychological breakdowns?
None at all.
Okay.
I mean, that's their first go around, and Simmons was a rookie, and it was Embiid's first full season. I'm worried. I'm more worried about them just not playing well. I'm not worried about a psychology issue anymore. They need to learn, and they played great against the Heat. It's just against better competition. They weren't prepared, and they will be prepared this year, and they're a better team this year as well.
You still have Brett Brown.
Yeah.
What? What did you say about Brett Brown?
I said you still have him.
It sounds like you're saying that with a negative connotation.
I absolutely am saying that with a negative connotation.
Brett Brown is the second coming of Christ. I'll have you know.
That's Tom Brady.
My God, you people are worse than green teamers just drooling over Brad Stevens. Brett Brown sucks. He might also blow.
What are you talking? Brett Brown has been fantastic. People only don't like him because he was the coach during the end of the process, and he coached some pretty crappy Sixers teams. But a lot of that was due to crappy players.
He doesn't manage the game well.
Not yet.
Which is really the only impact an NBA coach can have, other than drawing up plays.
Are you at all worried about Jimmy Butler's going like AWOL and then?
I'm worried about Jimmy Butler.
He is kind of a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, for real. I'm. That's why I'm so happy about Tobias Harris, because you already had 3 stars and you had 2 stars in Jimmy Butler, and now we have 3 stars in Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler is definitely a 4th star. It's just like you said, he's worrying.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Brown is a liability.
No, he's not. God, he's been fantastic this year. Really, under pressure, the Sixers have done great, especially when Jimmy
How'd they
Butler
look last
first
year in the playoffs against the Celtics.
Yeah, and also Brett Brown's first time in the playoffs as well.
Did you like the job he did in the playoffs?
Yeah, for his first time.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Really, they almost got swept.
I know, and well, first of all,
and it wasn't even close in most of those games. It was pretty embarrassing and emasculating for them.
No,
Yeah, I'm surprised they
okay.
even
The
started to come
Bellinelli
back in the
game, we were maybe 2 inches from winning, and we had the one win. It was his first time in the playoffs against a higher seed, and he did very well against the Heat, which
Against the Heat. Whoa.
The number
They did well against the Heat. I mean, I should
they were the
certainly hope
6 seed
so.
team,
I mean,
and it was the Sixers'
who'd the Heat
first
have?
time in the
Goran
playoffs
Dragic?
since 2012, I believe. It's. I'm not expecting huge things of Brett Brown.
Does Joel
in
Embiid
his-
have night sweats about Aaron Baines though? Because he did tool him in the playoffs.
Oh my God! You know what? Let's
Nice
talk.
sweats.
Let's talk after the season is done. And if Brett Brown does the same thing he did last year, then yes, we can have this talk, and maybe I'll agree with you.
So you're admitting that he pooped himself last year.
I'm not admitting that he pooped himself. It was his first year. It was his first year in the playoffs, and the team's first year in the playoffs. Well, so it's a completely different team this year, and they were also playing a higher seed. I wasn't expecting huge things of them last year. We were a good team, but we weren't a great team. The Celtics, honestly, as much as it pains me to say it, the Celtics were a great team last year, and it sucks to lose to them, but sometimes
They were also playing without Kyrie, Hayward. I mean, that team was basically a rookie Jason Tatum and Scary Terry, who is not as good as people think he is.
At least he was good in that series.
You people got tooled over by Terry Rozier.
okay, sure.
Ben, you're a confident Philly fan. You're all in on Carson Wentz. You're probably stoked about the Phillies are going to win like 89 games.
Right now,
the
yes,
Flyers are making the playoffs, and the Sixers are going to go to the finals, right?
Okay,
You're a confident Philly fan.
The Flyers are going to. I guarantee you, they are going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Schmoltz, write that down. The Flyers are guaranteed.
No. Sixers. Did I say Flyers? I meant
I
Sixers.
was gonna make a comment on the Flyers.
I was going to say, but it's okay. Eastern Finals. Okay, so guaranteed. We have that
Flyers.
down. Ben Silver guarantees
Hold
that the
on.
Sixers get to the East Finals.
Let's make a wager out of this, shall we?
Oh boy.
I think, Ben, pay attention. I'm trying to make a wager with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Ben, you
I
have to talk about
distracted.
RBIs.
No, Alexandra, nothing here is your fault.
Okay, I don't think your Sixers are going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, who is going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I mean, I like the Raptors and the Bucks better than the Sixers. I mean,
I think the Sixers will lose to the Bucks and beat the Raptors.
I think the Celtics have a chance to find a rhythm and get there too. So
The Celtics are not making the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, they can.
They can, yes, they can.
Sixers
but they're
also
not
can
going
too,
to.
but
so let's make a wager out of this. What would you like from me if the Sixers make it to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals?
But what do you? Is this money or is this like
No,
a
not
like,
money. Something that presumably would embarrass me, and I'm going to expect the same from you.
You know what? I'm going to ask that you. When this okay, you know what? Here we go. This will go both ways, and I'll see if you're down for this. I will. If okay, I just need to explain this. Whoever gets to the Eastern Conference Finals will have to. The loser of this will have to buy a jersey of the other team and wear it at least twice. Or you know what? To the next radio show and for that day.
Agreed. But let me just say. I'm not saying that the Celtics are going to get there over the Sixers. What I'm saying is that I don't think the Sixers are going to get there. So if they do get there,
then you buy a Sixers jersey of your choosing.
Okay.
And you have to wear it to the next radio show, and that'll probably be next year, but it's still on.
All right, I agree to that. And if the Sixers don't get there, you have to do the same for a Celtics jersey.
Yes.
All right, let's shake on it.
All right.
All right. And now that
we're documenting it. It's all good.
This has all been documented into evidence. So that's going to just about wrap us up, NBA. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some MLB rule changes, a couple of offseason moves, and maybe a couple of minutes on the Beanpot. Stay tuned for that. Out of bounds on WTBU Sports Radio. We'll be back in just a moment or two. Welcome back to Out of Bounds here on WTBU Sports at WTBU Radio, the beat of Boston University. You can listen in at 89.3 FM, 640 AM, BU Cable Channel 6, WTBUradio.org, or on the WTBU Radio app. You can call us in at 617-353-6400. We would love to hear from you in this last half hour of our show tonight. Send us a request on Spinatron. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at WTBU Sports. Guys, we are going to wrap up our show tonight with a little MLB. It might be the middle of February, but it is baseball all the time. No doubt about that. And we got some interesting stuff to talk about here because just a few days ago, reports began to come out of many proposed new rule changes that may or may not be coming to a baseball diamond near you in either 2019 or 2020. And Andreas, I know you want to say about that.
By the way, I just want to say it has been confirmed that none of these will be implemented in 2019.
Right.
Oh, that's really fun.
So yeah, disclaimer.
The MLB dragging their feet as per usual.
What else is new? So Andreas, you had a take on some of these rules.
Well, so before we get into debating whether or not we like these rule changes, I just want to set it up with this. So this is not an original take or anything. I've heard this from various members of the media. But if you look at the way that these rule changes are designed, it's almost a one-for-one trade-off if you go down the list for rules that would benefit the MLBPA and rules that would benefit the owners. So broadly, rules that would benefit the owners fall into the category of increasing the pace of the game. So all of these issues that the MLB has had with viewership drop-off, obviously a lot of people have linked that to the pace of play and how it's too slow. So most of those rules fit into that category of making the pace of play faster. On the opposing side of the MLBPA, the rules that benefit them generally either create jobs or aim to raise the average salary. So I'll just give you a couple examples. Universal designated hitter. DHs are usually going to be, veteran guys towards the end of the career. It'll help elongate a lot of careers of guys that would be playing in the field, and that guy is going to be making more money probably than the pitcher that would be hitting in his spot. On top of that, the expansion of rosters to 26 men, you're creating an additional job for every team. On the opposing side of that, things like the 20-second pitch clock, 3-batter minimum for pitchers that enter the game, those would obviously increase the pace of play. So I just wanted to set it up with that. We can go down the list and kind of debate these. I'll just read them all off to you right now before we start. So the proposed rules are, like I said, a 3-batter minimum for pitchers that enter the game, unless there are 2 or 3 outs in the inning and they are able to finish
The change of an inning, yeah.
Right.
Or if the pitcher gets hurt.
Right. Universal designated hitter, so that would obviously be changing the National League rules. A single trade deadline before the All-Star break. A 20-second pitch clock. The expansion of rosters to 26 men with a 12-pitcher maximum. Draft advantages for winning teams and penalties for losing teams. And that there are nuances to that. A study to lower the mound. And a rule that would allow 2 sport amateurs to sign major league contracts, i.e. Kyler Murray.
That's a rule for one person, so we don't need to really go much into that.
And there's one additional one. You hit all the big ones. Just one additional one, and this is something that's never going to go through, but just worth mentioning it, is a rule that would start to get tested in spring training in the All-Star game, in which every half inning and extra innings begins with a runner on second base. This is something we've heard now for the last couple of years. It is the most ridiculous rule that I've ever heard. So I think we can all universally agree that it's a.
Hold on.
That rule makes me want to vomit.
No, I don't hate that rule.
You don't hate. Okay.
I don't hate it.
So
we don't need-
let's start here.
I can go over why
Because-
later, Ben.
So the intent of the rule is to use the All-Star game in spring training as a testing ground for potential rule changes in the future.
Yeah.
So this rule change, and I hadn't heard the every half inning thing. I just heard extra innings. The idea of putting a runner on second to start extra innings basically is to shorten the length of games that go like 15, 16 innings. And the argument that I've heard against that is you're fundamentally changing the game. Well, how about shootouts? I haven't heard anyone complaining about shootouts.
I don't like shootouts.
You don't
I
like them,
think
but
it's just
better-
cute.
Come
You don't
on.
like them, they're better than ties.
They're better than ties,
Yeah.
but they're not as good as the way it works in the playoffs, where you just keep
naturally,
going
but
to
you can't-
overtime.
You can't play
Yeah, but
20,
I don't
you
wanna
can't play
watch
40 minutes of
4-hour games
over.
every single night.
Also, that's going to kill
Dad,
the
how
players.
often is that going to happen?
That's going
though?
to kill the
Do you
players.
know how many games go to shootouts?
Yeah, shootouts happen all the
Do
time.
you know how many games in the MLB go 15 freaking innings? And
Not
you're
a
up
lot.
until
Not a lot.
Oh my
It
god!
Can we still
happens-
touch on the World Series game? Like that one World Series
Yeah,
game?
exactly.
And
For the World Series game, it's
you're
fine.
saying that it would be better
Not in the playoffs,
if-
but during the regular season, I don't want to be up until 3 in the
But
morning waiting
then
for a
that
winner.
immediately says that you are valuing games in the playoffs, which they are, as more than the regular season.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there is something wrong with that, because baseball is baseball, and baseball should be played the same in the regular season
Oh,
as
come
as it
on.
is in the playoffs.
Come on, Dan Shaughnessy.
Ron Borges.
You have got to be kidding me with that.
There shouldn't be specific playoff rules in any sport. Each game should be a game.
Look,
It's different in the
bottom
NHL.
Line,
It's
the bottom
different,
line
yeah.
is in every single major sport, almost, with the exception of maybe the NBA, the overtime rules are different to accommodate for the fact that, wow, these two teams have been playing for 3 hours already and they're at a stalemate. Let's do something to change it up so that we can finish this game.
Yeah, that's
the
the thing.
shootout has been wildly successful in the NHL. I don't know anybody other than Ben that doesn't like a good shootout. It's exciting. It's good content.
I
It
like
finishes
watching a
the game.
shootout. I just think it would make more sense to keep going to overtime.
You can't do that.
my
The
God.
players just get worn out.
And that would just people defending the desire for endless overtime are the exact opposite of the people that want to improve the pace of play of a game, because you poll 100 fans, and I'm just spitballing here. You poll 100 MLB fans, and I guarantee you that at least 80 to 85 of them would say no. I would never stay up to watch a 6-hour baseball game. You talk to a lot of to some hockey fans, and I guarantee that a lot of them would say, I'd much rather see a game end in a shootout than go to quintuple overtime,
And also-
or something like that.
Preach.
Also, guys,
As a
I'm-
hockey
yeah.
fan, preach.
Exactly.
I love baseball games that go to extra innings, and I wouldn't even consider myself a hockey fan. I like hockey and I like watching hockey, but I'm not a hockey fan.
Guys-
I would love to see quadruple overtime in hockey.
You're ignoring the point, though. It's not for the fans. This one's for the players. Where like the baseball season
absolutely.
is freaking grueling. How can you play 162 games and it's like, oh, we played 19 innings, cool. Now we're gonna go on a 3-city road trip that's 10 games long. Our bullpen's completely burnt out. We're calling up 4 guys from the minors who can't throw strikes yet. Our starting pitchers were forced to be used. Now we're bumped back from the starting pitching. The All-Star break's not for 2 months. We got no days off this entire 4 weeks. It's for the players, guys.
No,
that's why the NHL doesn't do the overtime. These guys will get crushed.
I completely agree with you, Chad. And I mean that really couldn't reign more true, because we don't really think about this as fans, but these guys are human beings. These guys, their bodies, their athletic conditioning was not designed to have them go out and play an 8-hour game that ends at 3 o'clock in the morning, to only have to come back to the ballpark, play a 1 o'clock in the afternoon game the very next day. They are going to be tired, taxed, and with the grueling length of a baseball season, 162 games in 180 days, there's a solid chance they have no time to catch up on being absolutely gassed from an extra inning game.
No, I can get on board with the extra runner in extra inning, but not in the 10th inning. Maybe in the 12th inning.
Well, then what's the point? Why,
because the 12th inning is when extra innings, in my mind, start to become egregious. And I really enjoy that, but I understand not everyone does. But once you get to the 12th inning, yeah, sure, okay, that's when the game becomes too long. I enjoy it.
What if the game was a slugfest where it was 9-9 going to extra innings? The game's already been going on for 4 hours. Then you say you want to give it another hour to play another 2 extra innings?
If it's a slugfest, absolutely.
Oh my God!
But,
Stop!
no,
You're
not
making me
everybody
sick.
can just watch the game. And, also, we're fortunate to be college students. Not the people who need to get up at like 6 in the morning to go work. Those people aren't staying up for
I
it.
value seeing the end of a game, and for the love of Christ, I can't stand watching another 5-hour baseball game that goes 13 freaking innings. I mean, my God, wrap it up, boys.
Yeah, baseball's
wrap
not
it
supposed
up.
to be
Honestly,
doing that.
this is one of the beautiful things that I like about Japanese professional baseball. They don't do it quite like this. They still let games go on for a decently long time, but
It's a tie after the 12th inning, by the way.
So yeah, in Japanese baseball, they put ties on teams' records, and if after 12 innings it's tied, the game's over. Now, I'm not saying MLB needs to start instituting ties, but it's a smart alternative to a 19-inning, 8-hour game. Just add a tie on the record. I don't know what MLB's going to do, because they will never be able to get ties instituted. But
Not happening,
they got to
yeah.
do something. So let's move on. Let's move on. Okay.
Well, actually, one final point. The whole point behind changing the rules of overtime is that 2 professional sports teams have exhausted the limitations of the rules, right? They have proven that within the limitations of regular rules of play, that they are in a vacuum even. At least on that day, they have proven within these rules we are even. So we're adding a new element here to see if that moves the needle for one side or the other. That's the point of overtime, in my opinion. And you see it in every other major sport. It's ridiculous that baseball hasn't gotten there, and it's a sign of just how entrenched the MLB has been over the years in their just
stingy old ways.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
They don't care about the fans as much as the other sports teams.
They don't care about the fans, and to be quite honest, they don't really seem to care about the players that much either. But let's move
and
on.
now fans don't give a crap about baseball.
Exactly.
But let's move on.
The attendance crisis is a multifaceted
Would have been
issue.
great 20 years ago.
Yes. Moving on. Let's get to the big kahuna of this entire set of proposed rule changes, adopting the designated hitter in the National League. And I'm just going to give my quick take on this, because I'm 100% in favor of this. I completely agree with what you said, Andreas, that it is going to extend the careers of veteran players, and especially in the context of baseball today, where we're looking at pitchers and catchers reporting in a week, and we're sitting in a free agent market, but there are, and I'm 99% sure this is still a fact, there are over 100 players, and most of them are in their early to mid 30s, still serviceable big leaguers who are currently unemployed. Now, I'm not saying that they're all going to get jobs from there being a DH in the National League, but it will help extend some players' careers. And here's my second big point. While National League pitchers do spend some time preparing and spend some time practicing hitting and base running, with the way interleague play works nowadays, American League pitchers are going to have to come to National League ballparks and do this kind of thing. And AL pitchers just don't prepare. They don't condition their bodies. They don't practice in a baseball sense to hit and run the bases. And when you have schmucks like Masahiro Tanaka, who tears both of his hamstrings running from third base to home in a game against the Nationals, or you have Chen-Ming Wang, a young up-and-coming pitcher with the Yankees, who ruined his career and tore his ACL running the bases in a game against the Astros 10 years ago. The moral of the story is this. American League pitchers especially, and you could easily argue National League pitchers, because I'm sure every now and then they're going to hurt themselves doing this stuff too. Pitchers do not train to be able to hit. and it's not exciting watching a pitcher hit. Yes, it's fun every now and then when they're going to put down a crucial sac bunt,
or the Bartolo Colon homer,
or the Bartolo Colon, or the once in a millennium time where there's a couple of guys who can hit a few homers in a year, but 98 out of 100 pitchers cannot hit, and it will increase offense. It'll increase action in the game. I'm all for it. I'm sorry, I've been on for like 5 minutes.
It's all right.
Somebody
Ben,
else, please.
we can get to you in a second, so I know that you're going to disagree with this, but here's my thing about the DH, and it should be in the National League, because in what other sport do players consistently have to do a job they suck at and are going to injure themselves? You don't see goalies in the NHL have to go go on the power play. Yeah,
When
you don't
say
see
it like that, it's even
goalies in
funny.
soccer take
defensive
penalties.
players having to go play offense. Why does the defensive player have to go play offense when they know they suck at it? They're going to get injured, and I know the strategy thing can be fine for a playoff game where every so often there's a crucial mistake. John Lester getting pulled early in a playoff game is not pinch hit. Fine. It happens every so often. I'd rather see as we get a call.
We've got a caller.
Nothing
Take
likes
three.
the lines like
Take
DH
three.
talk.
Hold on.
Okay,
by the
I'm
way-
curious to hear their opinion on this.
Yeah.
I really like everything that Multi said. I like everything that you said, Chad.
Oh, thank you.
My big thing, I mean, all of your points were much more intelligent than what I have to say about this, but I don't get off to bases loaded and Masahiro Tanaka coming up to take 3 fastballs down the middle.
Okay,
you know what
here.
I'm saying?
How often does that happen, though? You guys
the
keep
freaking
you guys
time.
keep using all these straw man arguments. That yes, they happen. They happen occasionally.
There are like 3
but they're
pitchers
not.
that hit over
Okay.
150.
And quickly before you
I don't get off to that. I want to see someone hit the ball. I want to see
I don't
James
care.
Martinez.
The strategy of a game is far more interesting when you have to manage around a pitcher. I don't care that the level of
right,
skill.
this is getting ridiculous
Go,
at this
go
point,
for the
folks.
phone,
We've got
Multi.
a call
I believe
again.
in you. The level of skill. I understand that the level of skill is
Ben.
worse. Sorry.
Hello.
Okay, Schmaltz will take the call. Have you figured it out yet? All right, Ben. So,
I understand.
Would you like to be on the air?
Oh.
all right, Ben. I
I
just
really
gotta-
need a separate producing room.
Yeah,
Hold
we
on.
definitely.
Oh wait. No. We might have this. We might have this. Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello,
we got
we
you.
have our
Caller.
first caller.
All right, and
Oh my goodness.
Hi,
How you doing today?
darling. Nice to hear from
Hi,
you.
sweetheart. How are you?
Female callers love it.
Yeah.
Should I reveal this caller's identity, everyone?
please do.
This is my best friend Diana Sau from back home
Let's go.
in Cali.
We're
Thank
big
you
in
for calling in
California.
today, Diana.
It is a pleasure to welcome you to
California.
WTBU Sports.
Yes.
Right here with Multi.
First call in the history of Out of Bounds. So congratulations. You can
This
put
is
that
No,
on
we
your
had
resume.
one on like the
I'm-
first.
I better receive like a T-shirt or something. Or just kidding.
We have
We will definitely work on it.
If
we
we
got
had
bumper stickers.
T-shirts, we
Yeah.
would mail them out to
Multi,
you.
turn your microphone back on. My God.
so excited we finally got a call. Smoltz is just yelling into the air.
So what do you got for us, Diana?
What do I have for
Dee,
you?
we're talking hockey next. So,
Oh, hockey.
You could literally just say anything right
now.
now. So
But hockey's beautiful. Hockey men are even more beautiful.
Wow,
that's
all
why
right.
that's why I didn't play it.
can't say I disagree, boys.
This is turning into the love hour with Steve Harvey.
What are your takes on the DH in baseball? Are you pro or anti DH?
Hey, baseball's cool too.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take
She's
that.
a Giants
Baseball.
fan, like myself.
I can get down with
Yeah,
that. I
I'm
don't,
sorry to hear
nothing
that.
against the Giants.
3 champs. You kidding me? Yeah.
Well, the Giants sucked last season.
Yeah, they
that's
were
okay.
pretty awful.
All right, at least we can agree on that.
What do you think
Yeah.
about the Sharks this
Yeah.
year?
Sharks are, well, I mean, they're my team. Even if they're doing crappy, I would still say they're doing good.
But they ain't doing crappy.
I would be in denial.
But
Fair enough.
they aren't doing crappy, my love. Did you see that 5-2 win against the Flames?
No, I know they aren't doing crappy, but I said if they were.
Yeah.
Of course I saw that. 3 goals in, what, a minute and 25 seconds?
Ooh, let's go.
Thanks.
Hurdle it was in there. Tomas Hurdle was in there.
Burngy, one of them. And then who was the last
Fantastic beard. Brett Burns' beard's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
Almost as good
great.
as a smile.
And he's I can't really say he's a new dad because he has 3 kids now, but his newborn daughter is adorable.
one? Yeah, she's cute. What's her name again?
Olivia.
There's a lot of Olivias. It's like a popular name now.
Olivia Grace.
I've met like
Yeah,
2 or 3
Jones.
Olivias.
I do know that, yeah. I was following on social media every year. It's like, like Olivia's getting popular in girls'
Yeah,
names.
well, because we know that Jones is constantly on the interweb searching for his future kids' names.
that is.
You know,
It's like, that makes sense.
top baby names 2019.
yeah.
That's what he do.
That's
what he do.
bookmarked on Jones'
Top
computer.
baby names by the
Definitely
time,
name
like,
them.
2058.
They're gonna name him after me. Let's just be honest here.
All right. Well, I think Jones just committed to that. He's given me the nod that Diana's his firstborn daughter.
I'll sign off on
Yeah,
it.
exactly. There it goes. There it goes.
Okay, one very important question for you, sweetheart. So we
Yes.
were talking about, Tom Brady and like what kind of impressed us most about him. I said his age, and then I said he's basically the Joe Thornton of football. Would you agree?
I don't know anything about football, so
Well, Tom Brady's been
All
around
you need
for...
to know is that he's the greatest human planet Earth has ever produced.
All you need to know
Wait,
is that
wasn't
Chad
he
Jones
the
is
one-
lying to you. Tom Brady is a human
Wait.
pond
He's the
scum.
one who, like,
Wait,
no, yeah, wasn't he the one who deflated the footballs, right?
No, that was not him.
No,
that was, okay, we need to talk.
You got it right. You got it right.
No, that was not him. That was McNally, and it was totally legal. Don't even
Tom
Oh,
Brady.
yeah, no.
All you need to know about Tom Brady is that he kisses his son.
Yeah, he
like
shows
for real,
affection to
like
his
French
kid,
kisses
Ben.
his son.
Shows
That's
affection.
not
He shows
true.
affection to his kid, and
Tom
Ben
Brady keeps
hates
the
that.
thumbtack on him
He
at all
is a
times to
proven
deflate
pedophile.
footballs.
Tom
Ben's-
Brady. You heard it
Alright.
here first about
Ben's
Tom
a Philly
Brady.
scumbag who doesn't like affection when parents show it to their kids. You know,
Reel it in,
Yeah.
Ben.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's
All right,
affection.
we're off the rails here.
yeah, these guys
Rather
get
so.
heated.
Yeah.
These guys get heated, my dear. If
We
only-
do.
Yeah.
I can tell.
That's because Ben's wrong on like everything he's ever said.
And
Okay, then.
and it's comments like that get us fired up. But that's why we love him. That's why
Yeah,
we love him.
that's true. When he says
Yeah.
repulsive
Okay.
things.
He's one of the topics that there will always be something to talk about.
Yeah.
Always with Ben. There's always something
Yeah.
stupid that he said
There's
that we can always
always
talk about.
There's always something crawling around in the back of my mind. You just got to pick it out.
Unfortunately.
Exactly. How long is your guys' radio show for?
Well,
So
we're on
we
until
are- we
8
are
o'clock.
we are wrapping up in about 10 minutes here.
Yeah. Are you a P1? Do you listen to us all the time?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, let's go.
You
We're
should,
great.
yeah.
Woo.
Let's go. So we have at
She
least
A
should
real
one
fan.
start. She should start. Yeah.
You should definitely call in again sometime for
Absolutely,
sure.
please do.
I will.
Now that I-
Alexandra, just let me know.
Okay, it's every Friday, 6 to 8, 3 to 5. That's 3 to 5 in Cali.
We want your playoff reports because the Sharks are probably gonna end their games at like 3 in the morning. So we need to.
You can
Yeah.
tell him. You can tell him the Puck Ninja has your daily hockey dose.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Alrighty.
All right. Well,
All right, I
thank
got
you
it.
for the
I
call,
got it.
Diana.
Thank you
That was-
so much for calling.
That was
Yes,
riveting.
of course.
Okay.
Pleasure
okay,
to have
doll.
you on.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night.
See you
You as
soon.
well.
You
Thank
too.
you.
I love you.
That was-
Love you too. Bye.
Well, wasn't that
we,
adorable?
we finally did it, boys. We finally did
It
it,
only
ladies and
took
gentlemen.
You're
until the
welcome.
Yep.
only took until the fourth try. I actually did manage to work the phones.
Great
So,
job, Alexandra, Diana, and Daniel Maltz,
Finally
Good job.
got one down.
Good job,
Okay.
Schmaltz.
executive producer.
So, despite my status as being a diehard baseball fan, we do only have a few minutes left here tonight, and it would behove us greatly to give a little bit of love to the marquee sports event at Boston University, which is the Bean Pot
Let's
that
go.
that had begun last week. Both the men's and women's ice hockey teams went up against the juggernaut Northeastern Huskies. And let's start with the men's team. The men's team are not having the strongest of seasons. In conference, they have a winning record, but 10, 12, and 3 on the season. And they play a very tight and tough loss to Northeastern, 2-1 in overtime. The Terriers kept the game tied at 1 against a potent number 13 ranked Northeastern team. They kept it at 1-1 through the first 60 minutes before going into overtime, where they lose the game in a heartbreaking fashion because it happened almost right away.
They were getting peppered in the third period. Northeastern was literally tilting the ice so much that we couldn't see on the other side. They were living in their zone. I think maybe rent free.
How did the Terrier fans travel for that game?
It was good. No, both
Yeah.
sections were
Turnout,
pretty good.
really?
Yeah.
I thought there were way more Northeastern fans there.
We were loud though.
See, I
yeah,
didn't.
they were. I'm sorry, they were hella obnoxious. I'm using a Bay Area word.
They took their shirts off to start overtime, and we were like, it was like,
Well,
it's like-
that's-
Which one of those words was a Bay Area word?
hella.
Yeah, I hear hella everywhere.
Hella.
Hell is not.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I haven't heard it here. I just hear Wicked everywhere.
spend some time out in
Well, Wicked's
California. It's the
Boston.
only word that people say out there.
Yes,
Okay.
Andreas can vouch.
Stoked.
Yes, having lived out there for a year, it's hella obnoxious.
Sick, bro.
So yeah, I mean, it was a great defensive game by both sides. I mean, I would never want to talk so down about the Terriers, but Northeastern was definitely favored in this game. The men's team was not ranked entering that game. Northeastern 13th in the country. It was not expected to be such a great game. 1-1 tie through regulation time, and BU put up about as good of a fight as they possibly could have. And it's obviously when you put up that good of a fight, it's a shame to lose it in the end. But I mean, they should be proud that they kept the Huskies to 1 goal through 60 minutes.
Yes, and
Ottinger was awesome.
Yes, no, that's
It's
the
definitely not
one-
Ottinger's fault.
It's
No,
not.
you have the first
But that
and
was
last
the
shot
one-
of the game. In between that, what was it 47 shots in a row?
Brick wall, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Are you guys concerned
That was
with
the one
where
that- yeah.
where the men's team is at currently?
Well, I mean, there have definitely been some impactful freshmen. Joel Farabee has already bumped himself up to a first line forward. There
And-
are definitely some good players. And I guess it's really all going to depend on, the year of seasoning these guys have had and the new freshmen that come and the new players that come to town next year. And
I guess I just worry about, over the last few years, obviously they've lost a lot of guys to the NHL, plus the coaching change. They really took a big step back this year, at least so far. The season isn't over, but I definitely, obviously you want to be bringing in new players all the time, but I question how well they're going to be able to do under the coach.
Well, I mean, for Albie O'Connell, it's his first year as coach of the Terriers, and he can only get better with experience. He served the name of BU's previous head coach is skipping my mind, but he served as his assistant.
David Quinn, and he's
David
with the
Quinn,
Rangers,
Rangers
now.
now.
Yes, so I mean, Albie O'Connell served under David Quinn for quite a long time. He knows quite a bit of how this system works and how things operate here at BU, and now he's going to put his own little twist on them. So we got a couple of minutes left, and now that we've talked about the men's team, we have most definitely got to talk about the women's team. Again, both teams went up against Northeastern. The Northeastern Huskies women's hockey team was the number 3 ranked team in the country entering this game. BU women's hockey 8th ranked entering this game. So it was a heavyweight battle in this game. And after all the back and forthness that goes down, it ends up being tied 3-3 going into overtime. And we play through a 5-minute overtime period. We go to a shootout. Both teams sink one of the 3 shots in the shootout. And the very first additional round, the 4th round, Northeastern misses their shot, and defensive captain for the Terriers, Reagan Rust, shoots one into the top right corner of the goal and sends everybody home happy. As one of the 2 people who was honored to broadcast that game, along with WTBU regular Brian Lombardo, that my heart skipped 1,000 beats in that overtime in that shootout.
A defenseman?
Yeah, Reagan.
Defender. Did they call them defenders?
Defenders.
In
My
women's
apologies, my
hockey.
apologies.
Oh, yeah, but like...
My apologies.
So a defender won the shootout.
Yes, a defender.
That's awesome.
And this
That's
was
awesome. Let's
this
go.
was after, and at this point, the Terriers had already used their top 2 scoring players, Jesse Comfer and Sammy Davis, and same with Northeastern. Northeastern has 2 white-hot freshman players, freshman forwards, that both also took their shots. One of them, who had either won or had one of the goals in regulation, sunk the shot in the shootout that put the Terriers on edge. And to make things even more crazy, just to add to the story, Jesse Comfer and Sammy Davis, I just said, they're the Terriers' 2 leading scorers. Neither of them made their shots. It was in fact, I believe, it's blanking on me what year she is, but third.
Who is it?
Nara Elia.
Ooh.
Nara, so yeah, let's pull up the roster real quick. So it was 2 seconds here. We apologize for this. It was sophomore forward Nara Elia, 3rd line forward. She has been playing super well as of late to get the Terriers to this ranking, and she sinks the shot in the final round of the shootout to tie it back up at 1 shot apiece. And I mean, it's such a well-played game by the Terriers. You look at Northeastern, they're the number 3 ranked team in the country. Their goalie, Aaron Frankel, had the 2nd lowest goals allowed per game average among all women's hockey teams in the country. She averaged allowing 1.4 goals per game, and she let up 3 in regulation, and then the game-deciding shootout goal. I mean, it was just an unbelievable game. I mean, Alex, you were there too. I mean,
Oh my
what a
God!
game.
Yeah. Just You basically took all the words out of my mouth, Multi.
Schmaltz, I was covering it as the voice of women's
absolutely
Terriers.
incredible. I was honored when I finally grew a pair and asked Brian Lombardo if I could do play-by-play for one of the periods. He let me. And I was fortunate enough to get
I did not know. Tell me about that.
I was Doc Emmerich just killing it.
I was fortunate enough to get the period that featured the most action. So Lombardo let me call the second period. Now at this point, Northeastern was already winning it 1-0, and the way that the regulation worked, every time Northeastern scored, the Terriers had an answer. Northeastern took a 1-0 lead in the first. The Terriers tied it up to start the second. Northeastern took a 2-1 lead. BU tied it back up in that period. Northeastern scored their third goal 17 seconds into the third. 2 minutes later, Terriers tie it up. They shut everything down. And then they go to overtime and then to the shootout. I mean, the women's Beanpot game was everything you want to see. It breaks my heart how few people were in attendance at the Bright Landry Center at Harvard University. There couldn't have been more than a few hundred people there. But the battle between the two pep bands was great. Honestly, Northeastern had quite a bit of support there. I'm not so sure how much we had, but it was an incredible experience. And Alex, I hope you're going to be there with me because I am psyched as hell for the Women's Beanpot Championship coming up next Tuesday.
Where's that at?
It's at Harvard University.
At the Bright Landry Center at Harvard University, where the number 8 Terriers will take on the Harvard Crimson, playing on their home turf, having majorly upset number 7 Boston College, beating them 4-1. Harvard's rookie goalie had 52 saves with 1 goal allowed, a major upset. And with that
exceeded Ottinger. Just saying, I thought Ottinger was. I mean, he did fantastic, of course. And then once I heard that just kind of topped my amazement for the weekend.
Absolutely.
For the week.
Absolute heartbreaker. An incredibly well fought game by the Terriers on the men's side. On the women's side, an incredibly well played war of attrition of a game. Terriers win it in a shootout. That's going to just about wrap it up for us here on Out of Bounds, our first episode under our new title here on WTBU Sports. For Chad, Alexandra,